Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Maddie. I'm filming this on my phone right now with my back camera, so if you see me looking this way, it's because I'm looking at myself in the mirror to make sure I'm still kind of in frame and everything. I filmed this on my vlog camera on February 1st because this is my January, like the books I read in January, and I've been having a lot of trouble like getting the footage onto my phone, onto my computer, literally anywhere. So something must be wrong with like the videos because everything else on the SD card works. Yeah, I read 10 books in January, so I'm gonna be sharing those with you because these are pretty much all of them are some really good books that I'm obsessed with. If you guys want to follow my Goodreads, you can. I believe it's Maddie Tringone, or maybe it's Madison Tringone. I'll have it in the description box below. I'm gonna try to discuss these books in the order that I read them. So I started off with All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover, which I absolutely loved. I want to say I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This girl named Quinn, and she goes over to her boyfriend's house one night and sees a man like standing outside the door, like kind of really frustrated, and quickly finds out that this man is secretly like cheating on him with Quinn's boyfriend. So basically this whole big upset. Quinn and the man, I want to say his name is, what's his name? Graham, like have a moment. They go to a bar and everything, and then they completely disconnect. 6 months later, the two of them kind of meet up again and kindle this amazing relationship. So eventually they get married, and something about Colleen Hoover's novels that I love is the dual timelines where we go from the past to the present, and it's basically discussing their marriage, and it gets to a breaking point in the marriage where there's really is there a level of return or not for the marriage. So we see all the good, all the bad, and will they be able to kind of fix their marriage? This is like the last chance. Really loved this novel. Highly recommend it. Colleen Hoover books are always like, I read a lot of them this month because they're just such good, easy reads, and I'm always obsessed with the stories that she comes up with. The next book I read, I do not have with me, but it is called The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. Lisa Jewell is another one of my favorite authors, and this was her newest release. I believe it was released in July of 2021. The character's name is Tallulah, and her mom's name is Kim. So Tallulah is dating this guy, and it's a pretty like abusive relationship. She has like a child with him, I believe, and she like starts like hanging out with like this girl, and they become pretty close, and eventually like Tallulah doesn't want to be in a relationship with her, there's something in my eye, I'm so sorry, her boyfriend anymore. So she tries to break up with him, and it's such like a toxic relationship that he just will not leave. And eventually behind his back she starts kind of dating the girl that she became really close friends with, but all of their friends and like everyone around them thinks that like they don't even know each other, like they're not friends. It's like weird that sometimes they like talk and like hang out because they're like, why do you know her, type of thing. So eventually one night Tallulah is over at this girl's house with her boyfriend, and they're kind of like, they had just gone to a party, and I think like a bunch of them went back to the girl's house. I cannot remember her name, I'm so sorry. And this was gonna be the night that Tallulah told her boyfriend that she's dating this girl and she is like officially done, like she cannot be in this relationship anymore. I want to say the guy finds out or something. It ends with Tallulah and her boyfriend both going missing, and then it gets crazy. Like, they are last seen at the girlfriend's house, and you will have to read to find out if they ever get found, everything like that, what really happened. that night. Next book I read this month, or in January, was The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, and I really liked this book. I want to say I gave it a 4 stars maybe. This book is about a girl named Jane. She's like a broke dog walker, and she walks dogs in like this really rich community because they have like so much money to give. Like, of course they need like a dog walker. And she's like walking the dogs, and like all the like older ladies that live in this neighborhood are always like gossiping about this incident that happened with one of the neighbors. So one day she's walking these dogs, and she runs into this man. Like, he like fully almost hits her with his car. So he like invites her inside, apologizes, whatever, and she like literally like falls for him. Like, she really likes him, and they become super into each other very quickly. So we soon learn that this man that she starts like dating lost his wife in a boating accident along with her best friend, who is one of the other guys in the neighborhood's wife. So they were all very like close-knit community. So Jane kind of takes this as like the opportunity to like replace his wife almost. The wife's name is like, is it like Bea or like B? B and her best friend, like the mystery around their death was never solved. Like, no one ever found out what happened to them. And it's kind of like haunted everyone, but Eddie kind of has just like moved on from the situation. We really uncover the truth about Eddie and the truth about what happened at that lake house. Give me Verity vibes, if that makes sense, like if you can't tell by like The Wife Upstairs. The next book that I read was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I hope that's how you pronounce his last name. My Aunt Vicky recommended this book to me over the summer, and I never got around to reading it or purchasing it. I'm obsessed with this book. The Midnight Library is like the in-between of life and death, and it kind of follows this main character. I want to say her name's Nora. She hates life. She hates her life. And she one night tries to like kill herself, and she finds herself in the Midnight Library. The Midnight Library will kind of open a book, and it leads you to a new path that your life could have taken if you like would have done this differently or this differently. And basically, if this life is the life for you, you will stay in that book, in that life forever. But if it's not for you, you'll fade out and come right back into the Midnight Library, because Nora is such like a relatable character, and it was so interesting like reading about her journey and her story. And I loved seeing her finally finally realize that like life is worth living. I really recommend this book, especially if you kind of like struggle with things like that. Like, it was a really good interpretation of life. The next book I read was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This book I got for Christmas along with like 2 other books, and I really liked it. I honestly didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did, because I'm not a huge like fantasy person. Like, I love like Harry Potter and shit like that, but when it comes to like books trying to be like regular fiction stories and then throwing in like a weird fantasy aspect, like I don't usually enjoy that, because it's like, well, why are you trying to tell like a real story and then throw in like a vampire? But the way they did this was really well written. It's by Grady Hendrix, and it's about a book club, and it follows this main character. Her name's Patricia, and she's like a mom. I love Patricia. Basically this man named James Harris like moves into their neighborhood because his grandma, I think, was like dying. So he like moves in there, and Patricia kind of like helps him stay afloat. Like, he doesn't have much in his life, and he's like very new to the town. He doesn't know anyone, so she kind of befriends him. And Patricia also at the same time started a book club with her girlfriends, and they read horror novels. Like, basically the women, this must be like an older set time period, because the women are like supposed to just be like little housewives and like not be interested in like dark things. Like they're just supposed to be like cute little moms. So they started a book club to read scary shit. Duh. And basically Patricia and James kind of start this little connection, and he like makes her feel very special. But then a lot of weird things start happening in the town, and like children are going missing, children are getting injured, people are like, a lot of crazy shit starts happening. And Patricia kind of starts to figure out, like, is this all surrounded by this guy? Because like, who really is he? You know what I mean? So that's all I'm gonna leave you with, but I actually really recommend this book. Yeah. Next, I listened to my first ever ebook, and it was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I absolutely loved this novel. I highly, highly recommend. Basically, like it says, it kind of follows this woman named Evelyn Hugo's life, and she was married to 7 husbands, sorry. And this woman named Monique is the one who was asked to like interview her originally. And when Monique meets Evelyn, Evelyn's like, no, we're not doing an interview for your work. Like, you're gonna write a book about my life, and I just want you to do it. And I don't want it to be through your work, and I want you to do it, publish it after I die. And Monique was like, hold up, I'm just some random girl from this company. Like, why do you want me, of all people, to be the one to do it? And Evelyn's like, well, I can't really tell you that right now, but I'll tell you after I tell you my life story. So we get into all of Evelyn's 7 husbands, and we kind of find out some shit about her life, obviously, and who she was really in love with out of all the people. We find out why Evelyn chose Monique to be the one to do it, and it left Monique pretty upset. So that is what I will leave you with. I highly recommend. The next book I read was for school. It's called The Stranger by Albert Camus, I believe. Followed this guy named Marisol. I hope I'm saying that right. It's like French, I think. And the novel starts at his mother's funeral. Basically, I wasn't a huge fan of this novel. It covers the like concepts of absurdity and existentialism. He has no remorse for anything. He has no emotions, which is kind of why I didn't love it, because he is the narrator of the novel, and when like the main character of the novel doesn't show any emotions, there's not much there. The next book I read was a book that I had been dying to read for so long. It is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I knew I was gonna love this book. I just have heard so many great things about it. I heard about this book through obviously Book Talk and everything, but it is absolutely raved about by one of my favorite TikTokers. Her name is Sophia Judas, I believe. That's how you say her last name. I hope that's how you say her last name. I love her. This book was fantastic. Basically, it's about this girl named Daisy, and she's like an up-and-coming star in LA. She's like super young. Then at the same time, we're covering this band called The Six, and it kind of follows the main character, Billy Dunn. And eventually, like after the first tour, Billy finds out that his girlfriend's pregnant, and he goes off the rails. He's like, he's clearly not necessarily ready to be a father at this point in time, especially on tour, like your first ever tour. He just goes rampant. So eventually, Daisy Jones is so up and coming, and the Six needs something like spectacular to kind of like keep them going. And Daisy Jones eventually collaborates with the Six, and it's the greatest thing ever. And then Daisy joins the Six, Daisy Jones and the Six, obviously. And Billy and Daisy have this like super chemistry, which is bad because, you know, like Billy's like married and like all this stuff. But the way this novel's written is really cool. It's like a whole interview, like it's all dialogue, and it's like each band member and everything like that. And the end was super crazy, like finding out like kind of like what the interview was for. Basically just follows Daisy and Billy, and so fantastic. I don't want to spoil anything, but just go read the book. It's so good. Then for Christmas, I got a Kindle from my Nana and Pappy, so shout out to them. So I read 2 Colleen Hoover novels. So the first one was Reminders of Him, I want to say, which was her newest release. I wrote a book review about it for school. For the newspaper, not for school. Okay, I remember what it's about now. So this girl named Kenna, she got arrested for drunk driving and with her boyfriend at the time named Scott, and he actually died. So she went to jail for 5 years, and when she finally came out, she was on this search to find her daughter. So basically, Kenna found out when she was in prison, that she was pregnant with her daughter named Dime. I believe that's how you say it. And so she never got to meet her child, hold her child, anything like that. So after prison, she was on a search to finally like meet her child, and the child went into custody with Scott's parents. So she knew this was gonna be like really hard to do, because like obviously Scott's parents like don't forgive her for like killing their kid. She walks into a bar, like her first like night back, and she meets this man named Ledger Ward, and they like hook up, and she eventually realizes that Scott's best friend's name was Ledger. And he's able to see that, like, she's actually a good person and is, like, sorry for what she did and just wants to be a part of her daughter's life. So that's all I'm going to give you, because I kind of gave you too much already. But basically, like, yeah. The next book I read was called Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. And it's another really, really good one. I really enjoyed this. Basically the mom's name, what's the mom's name? Okay, the main character's name is Morgan, and it's multiple perspectives. We get Morgan's perspective and we get Claire's perspective. Claire's her 16-year-old daughter. So basically, Morgan and Claire have a pretty, like, rocky relationship, I would say. Like, it's just basic, like, mother-daughter, like, fighting. And Claire's super, like, close with her dad. So, at the beginning of the novel, we get to set the scene with Morgan is dating this guy. I want to say his name's Chris. She, like, ends up marrying him. And then Jonah and Jenny are dating. Jenny is Morgan's sister. Jonah was Jenny's boyfriend. So they're like this little friend group of 4, but there's always this like underlying chemistry between Jonah and Morgan, which was like bad, because yeah. But Morgan would obviously never do that to her sister Jenny, right? This shit had me mad. So one day, Jenny finds out she's pregnant with Jonah's child, right? So Jonah comes back into their lives, and basically he left a while ago, and we like find out why he left later in the novel. So yeah. Then at the same time this is happening, Claire meets this boy named Miller, and their relationship throughout the novel, I'm just obsessed with the 2 of them. So yeah, I'm not gonna really talk about that just because you have to read it, and I'm not gonna spoil it because it's so cute. But yeah, and flashback to like Morgan's side of it. So one day Morgan gets a call that like Chris was in an accident, right? So she rushes to the hospital, and Jonah pulls up because Morgan was trying to call Jenny, trying to call Jonah, trying to call everybody, being like, yo, get to the hospital, like something bad has happened. Jonah pulls up to the hospital after not answering Morgan's calls, and she was like, what? Like, and he was like, dude, Jenny's been in an accident. And Morgan was like, bitch, Chris has been in an accident. What do you mean? So they quickly come to the conclusion that they were in the same car, same accident, which doesn't make sense because Jenny said she wasn't going to work that day, blah, blah, blah. Things are starting to add up, right? Eventually, we learn about the affair, bruh. Chris and Jenny were having an affair. And they both are dead now. At the same time, you have this mother-daughter relationship that's so frayed. And now there's even more, like, issues pending upon this due to, like, the loss of, like, her husband and her father. That, like, they're, I don't know. I really, really recommend it. I loved this story and, like, learning. I don't know. Colleen just has a way of making me, like, absolutely fall in love with every character, like, ever. So I'm obsessed with these characters, and I highly recommend reading this book. Sorry if I spoiled too much. Alrighty, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry if, like, for filming on my phone was bad, but I'm using my back camera because I know that quality is at least better. But yeah, let me know if you like this video, and if you want me to do more book videos, I totally will. Hopefully I get to read more books this month than just one in February, because, like, 10 in January is, like, really impressive. Yeah, also let me know if I give too much away in my summaries and if I should just not do that anymore. Yeah, okay. I love you guys so much. I hope you have an amazing day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you in my next video. Deuces.